Matty, how are you, brother? What's going on?
Good, mate. How are you going?
Yeah, good. I'm a bit blurry, but we'll fix that. Mate, look at all those trophies in the background. I believe you're in the workshop still, chilling.
Yeah, in the workshop, up in the trophy room or the bar room as we call it. So
It does look cool. I seen a bit of it on Work Area podcast with Kurt the other day with Ryan. That room up there with the car and stuff looks wicked, man. I have to come check that out.
yeah, it's a good spot to have a few beers, and it's just I built it two years ago now. In one of our off seasons. I'm actually a
Yep.
carpenter by trade, so
Yeah, nice.
and yeah, had this idea that Krikke Motorsport, 45 years have got a lot of trophies to display, and we had nowhere to display them, so
Yeah, exactly.
kind of put the idea to Ryan of having this room and display all the trophies, and yeah, I wanted to put the Shane Krikke car in here as well. So yeah, it's been
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah, that's wicked, man. I hope we get to see that car back on the track soon. I reckon that'd be cool if someone does a real roll around or get Dane in it ripping a few laps. I reckon that'd be sick.
Yeah, I don't know. See what happens. Maybe on the 30th anniversary of the Krikke boys, we can drag it back out again.
Oh yeah, I tell you what, you sell some t-shirts, I'll buy one of them all day.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
it'd be cool.
yeah. So let's switch to day, mate. You guys have literally grew up together. I've seen a photo of you guys in kindergarten together. Is that correct?
Year three it was, I
Oh, year
reckon.
three. Okay, so early school
Yeah,
years. Yeah.
so 8 years old, we were sitting next to each other in the old school photo there.
it's it. I remember when I got told that, I'm like, okay, it's starting to make sense. They guys
Yeah,
work a lot together and they're long relationship, and it shows a lot with what you do. Okay, like, was that a relationship you guys had and it stayed forever, or you swapped, went away for a few years and then regained it through Speedway, or what happened there?
yeah. So yeah, obviously met in year three there, and we weren't the best of friends or anything like that. But
Yep.
we used to go to Speedway as young kids, and be like walking around the track and see him there playing with these dinky car, these little toy sprint cars and stuff. And
Yep.
but I think he moved schools not long after year three, so kind of like disconnected there for a little bit, and met back up with him in high school, but kind of still just knew who he was, and seeing each other at the Speedway. But I guess it probably wasn't till we were, I reckon, about 19 or 20 until we really got back together again and become really good friends.
Yeah, and was that again like the connection was straight Speedway? Did you start working on cars together, or like what was that relationship like then?
Yeah, so I was helping another friend out that was racing junior sedans at the time,
Yep.
and Dane actually knew him really well so we just kind of knew each other through that, and then yeah, the guy that I was helping pretty much just stopped racing, and I wanted to keep racing and helping out
Yeah.
on race cars, and then Dane went from junior sedans to modified sedans, so that's when I pretty much started helping Dane, was when he switched to modifieds.
Yeah, so modified. What's that like? That's for me. I've always been a sprint car guy, but now you've gone from the modified world working on cars, and now you've like probably you guys went through speed cars, and now to sprint cars. Like, can you sort of navigate that? Like, obviously that was where you gained your interest of, hey, I'm not racing, but I love working on race cars. Like, and it doesn't have to be road cars. Hey, like it's a completely different mindset as we're going racing. So like, what is the few things that are similar to working on sedans as a crew compared to a sprint car? Is there anything similar?
Oh, I don't think there's anything similar, to be honest. Back then, when I was helping him with the modified, I knew absolutely nothing about race cars at all. I was just a mud scraper pretty much.
Yeah.
So, and even he wasn't even in that too long, I don't reckon. And then him and his dad bought their first midget, and even then, I knew absolutely nothing. I didn't even know what stagger was back then. So it was
Yeah.
just pretty much scraping mud and going to have fun.
That's what I mean, though. Like, the similarity is, though, doesn't matter if you start working on a sedan or a 14 sprint car, you're going to be the mud scraper. Everyone starts it. Like,
Yeah,
you know
that's
what I mean?
definitely
Like,
the start.
as a thing, and it's still that mentality. Hey, we're racing on dirt. Let's wipe her up. What do we need to change? And so yeah, was it then the speed car midget side is where you started to learn and really put probably a lot more hours into detail on that side of the being a part of the crew?
Yeah, definitely. As soon as he got the midget, I was pretty much as hooked as he was, I think. And was just so keen to learn all about them, and yeah, he wanted to learn how to drive them, and I wanted to learn, how to work on them and make them go fast. So, and I think it was pretty soon after that that we actually did a trip to America. It actually might have been just before he started racing the midget the year before, and we did a trip to America, and I think we were there for close to 3 months, I think, and we travelled all around and watched, sprint cars, World of Outlaws, the midget stuff, pretty much whatever race we could get to, we went to.
Yeah.
And it was like then that I got proper hooked. Then, like, I was just like, this is what I want to do. Like, I want to work on these things. So, and then when we got back home, we were just both so keen to go racing and learn. So that's where, that would have been about 2010, I reckon, his first year midgets. Yeah.
And when you say you get hooked, is it because did you work on cars then or help people out in America then, or you purely just fan in the stands, walking around the pits and seeing how that environment probably still then was above ours in intensity or stuff they're doing? You're like, well, we don't do anything like this back home. I want to be a part of this.
Yeah, I think back in 2010, America was well ahead of Australia. I have a feeling. So when we went and seen all that and how big it was over there, we just pretty much couldn't wait to get home and start racing here pretty much. But yeah, I don't know. It was a tough first few years in the speed car and the midget because you could only afford to buy secondhand stuff, and I think the motor lasted 6 races and we're on the infield for the rest of the season, and then we built it back up again, and I think the next season was the same. I think it was 6 races and we're on the infield again. So it's just like, kind of the first 2 years sucked, to be honest, but I think it was like the year after that, I think we were planning on going to an Australian title in Avalon, and the week before blew the motor up running like 3rd at the state title or something like that. And it was like kind of the first time that probably not the first time, but we were like so close to, we were really competitive. And then the motor blew up crossing the finish line and running 3rd at the state title, I think it was. And we were just devastated because we were meant to go to Avalon for the Australian title a few weeks after. But with a bit of help from his aunts, he ended up getting a second-hand Esslinger and bolting that in and heading all the way to Avalon for the Aussie title. And actually, for the first Australian title that he run, he actually didn't do too bad. But and then it was that off season, I reckon I went to America and started working on sprint cars. So that's when we all started getting very serious about it. And I think the year when I got back, he built a brand new midget after that. So
yeah. And was that, you said then, like, so you left to go and work on a sprint car team. Do you remember what sprint car team was it? Of course you're going to remember. What am I saying? What sprint car team was it, or how was that connection built by you from someone from Australia, or when your time was there before?
Yeah, so I at the time, and I didn't even know him personally, but Shane Finch used to work here for Krikke Motorsports.
Mm-hmm.
When Pete Capehorn used to be the crew chief, and Shane Finch was the other guy. So I knew that I never knew him personally. I never even met him, but I knew that he went to America every year and worked for Jason Sides. Mm-hmm. So I just messaged him on Facebook one day. I'm like, hey man, you don't know who I am, but I'm pretty keen to get to America and work on race cars, and I know you do. So is there any chance you can hook me up with a team or something like that? And he was good enough to get back to me, and he's like I'm I think he was like there already, and he's like, I'm here, like come over and just hang with us for a bit and I'll find you a job. And I'm like, oh shit, okay, well, all right, I'm just gonna do it. So I threw my carpentry job in.
You're leading me into my next question, but keep going, bro. Yeah, that's
I went to my boss and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go to America for 3 months. Something I always wanted to do. So I'll see you when I get back. If not, then catch you later on. So
wow.
So booked my tickets and and I actually flew into Memphis because that's where Jason Sides, his home base is.
Mm.
And Shane's like, oh, just stay in the hotel the night there at the airport, and we'll pick you up in the morning. And I'm like, okay. And I don't know this guy at all, and I'm just like
You're just
flying to the
winging
other
it.
side of the country, going,
Wow.
I hope these guys pick me up because
Yeah.
I'm stuffed if they don't.
Yeah. That is
Uh,
insane, bro. But
yeah.
like, okay, let's before we jump into that. That sounds like I can't wait to hear about that. But the gamble, like, did your family like you had backing? Like, obviously, you don't want to. The 17-year-old kid now. I'm gonna quit because that's what Maddie did. But like, it is a bit like it was. I mean, you probably looked at it as, and I live my life by that. We live once. I'm gonna have a red hot crack, and let's see how it goes. Was that 3 month stint that you were going for? Was it all or nothing type deal?
Yeah, 100%. Like I just wanted to do it so much. Like I don't think there was going to be anything that was going to stop me, to be honest. Like
Yeah.
I can't even remember what mum and dad thought of it at the time, because I know I was still living with them. But I can't remember what they said. I reckon dad would have been, backing me 100%, but mum would have been like, "Oh, it's a big gamble," But
Yeah, yeah.
there was nothing stopping me. I was going. So,
Man, so what age was that exactly? That trip.
I would have been 23, I reckon. Yeah,
Okay, so you
23.
were fully
Yeah.
qualified
Yep.
tradesman and working on cars with Dane, done a bit of travelling, so you're not just going there naked. You sort of knew what you're going in, but you never knew who the people were, but you knew they were real. It's not like they're nobodies, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So okay, let's track that. Okay, that first 24 hours, you get your plane, you're on your own. You booked a hotel, they booked one for you. Then when they
Um,
pick you up, what was that like? Because that still would have been like, is this actually happening?
yeah, well, I booked a hotel at the airport there, and I checked. I remember checking in, and they played a bit of a joke on me. So like I was in my room, and the phone rang, and I like picked it up, and they were like, "Oh, this is Officer, whatever from the Memphis Police Department," and I can't really remember what they said, but at first I'm like, "Shit, what have I done?" Like, I've only been in the country 5 minutes, but it was actually Jason Sides' brother Paul playing a trick on
Yeah.
me. So, but yeah, stayed the night at the hotel at the airport, and the next day, Jason and Finchy come pick me up and put me back to their house. And actually, that day they picked me up was the 4th of July, so that's a big party for them guys. So it
Yeah.
was straight into it.
Maybe that was a test because this guy hang or something. Maybe you never know. So
But no, they were really good.
what was your knowledge then? Like obviously working on speed cars, still hadn't fully worked on sprint cars from the conversation. But what was your knowledge as a sprint car guy on the tools?
Oh, hardly anything, to be honest. Like,
Wow.
I think I'd helped out. Like this was, yeah, long time ago now. Actually, I can't remember if I'd worked on his car before this, or it might have been after this. But I did help Chris Coyle for a little bit when he was in his
Okay.
own family car.
Yep.
I can't really remember when that was though, but I didn't really know much about sprint cars at all.
Yep.
And to be honest, we'd only been racing midgets a couple of years, so I still was pretty
Yeah.
green with that too. But yeah, I was knocking around with them for about a week and a half, I reckon, and then we were at Lernerville in Pennsylvania, and Vinci pretty much comes up to me. He's like, "Oh, grab your stuff. You're switching trailers," and I'm like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Got your job." Yeah. So I was like, "Who you with?" He's like, "Lucas Wolf down this way." So pretty much grabbed my stuff and put it in Lucas Wolf's trailer. That was when he was the orange 5W car.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. 100%.
yeah, spent the rest of the time with them.
Yeah. And okay, so that gamble basis, obviously, then is that you get a roof over your head, you get fed, and all the rest is just a pure learning experience for 3 months, or how does that work too?
Yeah, so with Lucas, they were pretty much the biggest budget team on the world of Outlaws there at the time.
Were they
It was
really in that team? Ooh.
yep, it was a
Okay.
very family run team with a bit of backing
Yep.
from some friends of theirs. But yeah, it was like compared to the guys that we're racing against, like the Casey Kane team at the time, I think, and Steve Kinser,
Yeah.
Tony Short Race and Steve Kinser, like compared to them teams, like Lucas was, very budget.
Yeah.
Like we would go buy Kane secondhand tires off them because they would just run their tires for a heat race,
Yeah. See you
kits and
later.
everything. Oh yeah, and we'd go buy them. And a couple of times there, we like quick timed World of Outlaw events on Kane's used tires.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
But then again, that's like that would have been. Like, my head's still rattling that you literally jumped into. This was a question later I have of road life. You have jumped into the biggest, hardest road life straight away, being on a World of Outlaws team, and you're just the guy that is, Maddie, come help me with this, and that's how you learn, like type deal. Yeah, was that the vibe?
It was probably to be honest, like working for Lucas was probably the best team to learn in because it was so small, and
Mm.
it was literally him and his dad. That was it.
Yeah,
Like every other team had, a crew chief, a car guy, a tire guy. It was just literally Lucas and his dad. So
yeah,
it actually taught me to do, to actually, Randy Wolf, Lucas's dad, he needed me to do stuff, and I just, he showed me how to do it, and I just
yeah,
did it. So
yeah.
yeah.
It's like it's teaching you so you guys can grow as a team in a way. Yeah, like Randy can focus on other things, not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, where you do 1, 2, 3, like
Yeah,
that type of thing.
yeah,
And
exactly
and
right. So,
what made you then? Obviously, you can be that crew guy. Did that then you being in that experience really go? No, I want to go to the next level, and be the guy making the calls or learning. I know every nut and bolt on this thing to be like, it's my call. I want to run a team one day.
yeah, so yeah, like with Lucas, I got pretty much like thrown in the deep end pretty quickly, and by the end of that trip, I was doing pretty much all the car maintenance myself. While Randy did the engine stuff.
Yep.
I would, and because they were such a budget team, our maintenance was so particular. It wasn't funny. Like it was like the rear end was out of that car every two races. Like no matter what, like doing
Yeah.
driveline stuff, rear end stuff, bird cages, shit. I don't even, these days, we don't take the rear end out of the car very much at all unless we have to. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, back then they just wanted, to make their stuff last as long as possible, and they were racing for a living too.
Hmm.
That was their form of income. So if the car broke down and they didn't finish a race, then that's money lost.
That's where I think a lot of people and fans don't get. And, Lucas is a PA main guy now. That's their background. I'm sure you learnt. Like, when you say, like, your maintenance, like, you sort of learnt your maintenance because it was like, we need to make sure everything's perfect because we can't afford to get a rear end unless we run top 10 tomorrow. Like, is
Yeah,
that the
yeah,
vibe? And that's the cutthroat of, like, the performance too, not just, oh, we're an outlaw driver. Oh, we ran 20th tonight. Like, that's not good enough. We need 10 or we can't hotel room for the next 2 weeks
yep.
or something. So
100%. It's definitely a different world over there. Like them guys do it for a living, and that making positions up and winning races makes them money. So and then when you're crashing and you got stuff failing on your car, then you're losing money. So but yeah, it was definitely probably the best learning experience I could have had for my first sprint car gig because yeah, it was pretty important to keep
yeah,
that car on the track. Yeah,
and what I'm getting as is like you want to be a part of it, you have to just jump head in and be committed.
yep,
And not
100%
expect the
committed.
rewards and just be like, yeah, I'm here to do the 3 a.m. washes and the 6 a.m. get up to maintenance the car because we're racing in 4 hours or scrutineering in 3 hours and all those type of stuff that you had to learn on the go too.
Yeah, yep,
Like literally, oh, we got to do this now. Holy shit! Oh, this
yep,
sucks, but you do it because like
yep.
you got that gig. So what year exactly was that?
That was 2013, I reckon it was. Yep.
Okay, so 2013. We'll paint that picture. Now you finish your 3 months there, or was it just the 3 months? So what you
It was
what?
just a 3 month visa I had, yeah, so I had to get
So
out of there.
so what month did you come home?
I reckon because we went to I was actually only booked for 11 weeks, and then we got to California and I had another week up my sleeve. And I'm like, hey guys, do you mind if I stay another week? Because I don't really want to go home just yet.
Yeah, of course.
And
Yeah.
then I changed my flight, and I actually drove all the way back to Pennsylvania with them, because back then they went from California all the way back to Pennsylvania, and did the last weekend of racing. I think it was like one weekend. Yeah, it must have been like Williamsgrove and Lernerville again or something like that. So yeah, stayed as like 3 months to the day. Like I had to get out of there. I was staying too long, and come back home and yeah, hated life.
I was gonna say, so that's probably like September-ish or earlier. You come home.
It would have been September, yeah. I reckon. August, September it would have been, yeah.
Okay, so now I'm sure you've come home. You've got this badge of, hey, I worked on an Outlaw team. I'm still new, but I've learned a shit ton. Like you were in a position to ready to help a team, right? What was your mentality? You said, yeah, it sucked for a bit because you're home in Australia not working on race cars, but you know, what connections or where did you see yourself and where'd you end up for that season moving on?
Well, I just came straight back home, and yeah, I was pretty keen to get into racing again with Dane and the midget. So so yeah, it's there's not a lot you can bring home from a sprint car in America on an Outlaws tour to a speed car in Western Australia, but I guess just the maintenance side of stuff and how everything was run and just how to do stuff properly, I think was the biggest thing. So that's what I could take back to Dane and his team was kind of more the maintenance side and pretty much that to start with, because obviously the setups are totally different.
Okay, and then how long were you with Dane with the midget for before your first another sprint car gig, or was it straight to the Krikkies in a few years from there? How did that ball and where you are now type work?
So in Australia, I pretty much was with Dane right up until 2016.
Okay, so 3-year period. Yep.
Yeah. So and then in between that, I was going back and forth to America. So 2014, I went back to America and I worked for Lucas Wolf again, but he actually had a drive with another team that year.
Okay. What team was that?
The Buffalo Wild Wing team, 82 car up in Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Yeah. So was that not an Outlaw deal? That was just a certain territory deal?
So yeah, they got Lucas to drive for him that year, and Lucas was like, "Oh, do you need a crew guy? Know a guy that's pretty keen." That's how I got there. Just Lucas kind of brought me along with him.
Yep.
So that year I actually went for 6 months. That was a long stint, that one. And that team was just run a little bit differently at the time. There was people in and out of that car quite often. It was
Oh, so Lucas didn't stay in the car the whole time, but you stayed with that team the whole time?
Not the whole time. So I reckon I got there and Lucas maybe lasted 2 or 3 weeks, and then he got the boot.
Yeah.
And at the time I'm like, man, what am I going to do? Like I'm only Lucas got me here.
Yeah.
And then they got Jason Solwald from Washington.
Mm-hmm.
So then he started driving the car. And I think I can't really remember how long I was sticking around with him for. Probably would have been similar, maybe 2 or 3 weeks.
Wow, pretty cutthroat, yeah. Jeez.
Yeah, but like he stayed on for a little bit. It was we were actually down in Eldora, and we had to do like a motor change, whenever it was, and the motor change never went so well, and me and the crew chief were kind of butting heads a little bit, and we weren't really having a very good time. We were in the bloody C main or something like that, and we were parked next to Chad Kemenah actually, and never really took much notice of it. But got back to Sioux Falls, and I got a phone call. Like, who's calling me? No one knows me over here.
Yeah.
And it was Chad Kemenah, and he's like, "Oh, I seen you not having a very good time with that 82 team." He's like, "Come work with me." And I'm like, "Righto."
Wow. So that's like what, you were a month or two with the 82 that season?
Probably only a month. All right. Yeah, maybe a month and a half, maybe at most, and then flew to. I actually can't remember where I met Chad, but he's based in Ohio, so I reckon I probably flew there somewhere and hooked up with him. So I was with him the rest of the time.
And what was Chad's schedule and what was he doing race-wise weekly?
So he was actually on the Outlaw tour then.
I was going to say, that sounds about... I didn't know if he was still on it or not because I knew there was that 3 to 4 year period he was doing the Outlaws for. So,
yeah.
And then so back into a similar thing, was it? Was it a budget team like the Wolf's family or a bigger team again?
No, very much exactly the same as what Lucas and Randy had, except it was just Chad and me. That was it.
Yeah, really? So he would just have guys... I could follow him and help him for 2 weeks and then swap, like, just to make it all work. Was that the type of deal he would have? Yeah.
Pretty much. He's a pretty well-known guy. You know, he did pretty well when he was racing. Won a couple of All-Star Circuit of Championship series. And so, yeah, he knew a lot of guys. So he just kind of depended on what area he was in. He'd get a few guys that he knew to come and help him. So, yeah.
And the Wolf was your in the deep end, sink or swim, you learnt. Now you're with the Kemenah situation. Did you feel like you were still in a little bit of a learning stuff or in that period? Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. There's just so much to learn and to be honest, you don't stop learning.
I feel that.
Always changing. Yep.
Yeah, like there's always, I mean, when we've had, chilling and talking and having a car ride together, I just pick your brain on something and I'm like, wow, or you might ask me about something that you're a sprint car guru, but I'm not saying I know much about sprint car. We're going to be something close to it. And you're like, oh, that sounds cool. I didn't know that. Like, it's just, you never stop learning with our sport, and our sport keeps changing, as you would know. You're on top of it all the time, and you're looking for the next thing to get the edge. So the Kemenah deal, how did that finish up? Was that was then back to Dane for another bit?
Yep.
And then another US trip and another US trip?
Nah, so I had 2015. I never went at all. No, sorry, I did actually. I went back and worked for Jason Sides for a couple of months. I did. Yep.
Okay. Yep. So the original connection type deal, like.
Yep. Cool. So hooked back up with them and did the Outlaws with him and Finchy again. Which was actually pretty cool because going back to 2013 with Lucas. I was actually with him when he won his first World of Outlaw feature race at Bloomington.
Lucas
which
Wolf?
was,
cool.
It was really cool to be a part of that. And then actually got the chance to be part of one of Jason Sides' wins when I was with him as well. So guys, and it just makes you appreciate it a little bit more, like guys like that don't have the budgets of. At the time, Donny Schatz and the Canes. I think back then, like the Canes had like Saldana and Cody Dara and Paul McMahon, and they were just
3 race cars.
So for little teams that I was helping to go and win an Outlaw feature was just so cool to be a part of. Yeah,
I bet, man, and that's even like nowadays. You see anyone that's the battler or the budget team, and they get a big win, you just go, oh, that's what the sport's about. You know what I mean? Like David versus Goliath, and they get the win, and it's not like you're just watching the same every week. So all right. So then your Sides, man, you've worked for a lot of teams, and that big gamble, it sounded like it's paying off. So you're probably what now at that point around 27, 26.
Yeah, probably about that. Yeah,
around there, right? So how close are we to the Australian sprint car team?
Not really. I was still just really invested in helping Dane with the midget. And at that time he was going so well. I can't remember what year it was there, but it might have been the 14 or 14, 15 year.
Yep.
I think he won like 13. We started 19 races and won 13 of them. Like he was just just at his kind of like. We thought at the time it was at his peak kind of thing. It's like, I can't get much better than this. Like,
yeah, for sure.
The win record's pretty good. But, I guess we were just going so well and having so much fun with that midget team that I was happy doing that, helping him in the summer. And then if I wanted my sprint car fixed, then I'd go to America and help someone. So,
yep.
But then, got to 2016 and he's like, oh, let's take the midget to America.
Yeah.
And it's something that we'd always talked about, but it'd been a pretty long distant dream, you know what I mean? It just,
Oh, taking everything in yourself and packing up,
yeah,
it's a bit of a
yeah.
gamble. And
Oh,
having some fun.
100%. And, that it took, I think he spoke about it when you spoke to him, but,
Yeah.
it pretty much took everything that he had and all us guys that went and helped him, paid all our own ways and put money in ourselves to make it happen. And yeah, it was unreal. So that 2016 was the trip to America with his midget.
Yeah, that's sick. And then so you guys do the America side of things, and then you come back probably roaring to go on the midget side of things, like no off season technically, yeah.
Yeah, well, I can't really remember what we did with the midget that year. I kind of thought like I kind of had a feeling like after the America thing, we we're kind of gonna, maybe not do the midget so much, like because we spent so much money doing it, it was going to
Okay.
be pretty hard to keep going the way we were going. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So I think the plan was we're going to lay low on the midget a little bit, but that's actually when I started working for Crickies was the 2016 year,
Yep.
which was Brooke Tatnall's last year of the team.
Okay. Yep.
Shane Finch left to go back home to Sydney and do some other stuff, so they needed another tyre guy. So yeah, I was filling his shoes.
Yeah. Right. So, mate, that's a probably uh, Brooke Tatnall had a great tender with Krikke Motorsports, won a lot of races, championships. What was that like? It was, I would say at that time, I would say nearly the biggest and well-known sprint car team in Australia. Wouldn't you say at that time?
Yeah, definitely, I think so. And yeah, it was pretty unreal to be honest. And didn't I think at that time I didn't really think if I was going to be working on a sprint car in Australia ever. I think
Yeah, right.
I was just kind of content doing the midget stuff, and then yeah, I was kind of pretty surprised, by the phone call to ask to come work for him to be honest. But
Yeah.
yeah, I was pretty stoked when they did. That's for sure.
And what was the personnel like then? Who was on the race team then? Obviously, we know Brooke Tatton was the driver, but who else was involved at that time? As you're just the tyre guy.
Yeah, so Dylan Buswell was the crew chief at the time. So I think he'd been at the team for probably about 3 years, I reckon,
Yep.
about then. Yeah, so yeah, did that year with them and really enjoyed it. So stayed on for the second year, and that's when they decided to get Jamie Ville to drive it that year.
Yep.
That was a tough year though. We never went so well that year, and I just remember, the team copped a lot of shit for getting rid of Brooke and getting Jamie, and then obviously the year never went like planned. So
Mm.
it wasn't the most fun year to be on the World Series tour, but it was still experience for me
Yeah.
and still what I wanted to be doing. So yeah,
Yeah. I was going to say now you in America where the teams swap. Yeah, that team swapped like get rid of driver, and you're just there going, oh, another driver. But that one was pretty big in Australian motorsport. The Krikke and Tatnall departure, and then Veely was the time. I think he was red hot in his own
yeah,
stuff, and it. I mean, everyone sort of went, "Oh, that's going to go well." Like, Jamie Ville's awesome at the moment, and Crickies are a powerhouse. So what was that? Was that like the traveling on the road, and were you getting stuff from people and fans going like, "Why'd you change?" And Jamie standing there? Was that the type of deal it was?
there was the occasional person that wouldn't really care, if you heard them or not, but it was mostly social media stuff and
Yeah,
and the real bad people, and it's still the same today. The
yeah,
the worst people on social media giving people shit, hide up. They don't even have a picture of themselves on there, so you don't even
bloody
know what they
oath.
look like.
Yeah,
And they definitely wouldn't come up to you at the track and say something.
yeah,
So it was more that, and I felt pretty bad for Dylan because even Dylan was like copping a lot of shit as well. But to be honest, like you know, Dylan and Ville, they were going to America and racing together, and they were like Yeah, they were doing really well in America, like, and you
Yeah.
said Jamie Veal was really hot here, and it just kind of made sense. Like that was the way to go because, as everyone says, the relationship between a driver and a crew chief is really
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
And then guys were like best friends at the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And Dylan and Brooke were kind of button heads a little bit, and
Yeah.
and so it just, to be honest, for back Ryan 100% on his call. It was just the way to
Yeah.
go at the time.
Yeah.
And Brooke just had so many fans, like he'd been around for so long and done so well. He just
Yeah.
had so many fans, and of course you're going to be upset about it. It's just one of them things.
Mate, he'd still come back to Australia and get a ride, and I reckon there'd be a bit
Oh,
of a cure to Brooke Tatnall car and shirt sales
100%.
and stuff right now. So he's,
Yeah.
old up there with the legacy now. You got the names of the Tatnalls, the Braziers, the Dumsies, Crickies, Madsons. Now those two have done Ripper, put their names up there. So yeah, it was always going to be that. But okay, so that year you guys do World Series. What did you actually come that year in World Series, or how many races did you win? Do you really remember that harder year of the transition?
Don't think we won a race until we got back to Western Australia, and we actually won a couple in a row, I think.
So like that
I'm,
February period, like when the
yeah.
series comes and then you have your Barbagallo and all those type of races.
Yeah, so I'm not even sure they had the Barbagallo
Oh,
race
you
back
know what I
then.
mean, that period.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was just when World Series used to come back here and finish.
Mm.
So yeah, I can't quite remember what exactly our results were, but I don't think we won a race until we were back here, and I think it could have even been Bunbury, the first race we'd won when the World Series come
Yeah,
back to
right.
Bunbury, and I'm pretty sure we won the Krikke Boys that year. I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, it wasn't until the end of the season we finally got rolling, but by then it was just kind of too late. The kind of damage had already
Yeah.
been done.
I was about to say that. It's like I don't think that period could fix probably the hard relationships and conversations you were having all year and stuff like that. So
Yep.
that was a big thing. I remember the Cricky and Veal. I was like, everyone was, that's good. It's going to go well, and it wasn't as good. And Jamie still went on to do ripper things, won Australian titles, and he's still one of the top sprint car drivers in Australia. And I don't see him not winning a few of the big ones still because he's pushing it still.
No,
Like he's
that's
he's
right.
up there, and Veely's awesome. I remember he used to come to Parramatta, right, and that's when he started getting good, and he just flog everyone. And I was
Yeah.
like, where'd this 35 guy come from? And it was just Veely, like just flogging everyone at Parra. I think
Yeah.
that would have been the time just before you guys joined. I think around that or
It would have
something
been,
like
yeah.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
he
that
was on
year
fire.
before he came race with us, we pretty much travelled the World Series together. So we were wherever he stopped, we were kind of with him and travelling with him. So we got to know him like pretty well. And
Yeah,
as I
okay,
said, him
yeah,
and Dylan were like really good friends. But yeah, he was like ripping that year. I reckon the year
yeah,
before that we got
going.
him.
And that's what you guys are racing against, James McFadden back then. Was he do you feel like it was Cricky's McFadden and, you were racing against some really good guys week in, week out, but you also build some awesome relationships like you just said.
Yeah, definitely. Especially James and Veal were pretty good friends. Obviously, being from Warrnambool, so
Yeah.
I remember James has got a go kart track out at his dad's house there, and we'd go out there when we were in the Warrnambool area and weren't racing and go fang around in the carts at
Yeah,
James's
that's
house. So
sick.
yeah, it was actually pretty cool back then having a good time. The racing wasn't so good, but had a good time afterwards. That's for sure.
Now, what you said the racing wasn't so good, just meaning results. Like, how
Just
does that?
results, yeah,
Yeah, of course, right? Racing is
yeah.
racing. But I mean, you working on a team, going to lows of no good results to highs, is it sometimes now you've been to those, you sort of can get yourself out of that quicker? Or you can stay calm and when stuff isn't perfect?
Yeah, it's a little bit different now, I guess, being the crew chief, because like back then, you just worked hard and did your job as a
Yeah,
tyre guy. The pressure wasn't really on me to get results, I
yeah,
guess. I mean, you're still part of the team, so,
yeah,
no one's going to be yelling at you saying, "Oh, you're the reason we didn't win tonight" or something like
yeah,
that. But
yeah,
it just so there was no real pressure, I guess. That the results are coming back to you, but
yeah,
like now, I feel like if we're not doing so good, it comes on me. You know what I mean? Like I'm in charge of the team, and if we're not doing well, it's on me. So
Yeah, the turn to
probably
Matty,
more
what's going
pressure.
on? Matt, what's going on?
100%.
Like, get it moving.
Yeah,
Like
and
that.
to be honest, we've had a rip a couple of years, but going to be a year coming up where we're not so good. It happens.
Yeah.
And you just got to do your best to find what it is that that needs fixing, or you need to get better at, or something that you're missing, and get back to where you are. But
Yeah.
it's impossible to be on top year after year
24/7.
after year. Yeah.
So with that, you go Veerley in, year out. Then did you go through a few drivers in that period? Like Tim, were you around for the Tim Kading bit?
No,
No,
so I
he was
reckon
just before.
he was
Hey,
before.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So then
Um,
Veerley goes. It wasn't Kerry Madsen, was it? Was that
it,
Kerry?
it,
It was Kerry
yeah,
onwards. Like, and
yeah.
he's for that till Dane.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, right. So you guys
Um,
had a really good relationship. He just come off a lot of Australian titles himself around that period. What
yep.
was that like? You've gone through 3 drivers, right? So you go from Brooke the year, you're a tyre guy, Veerley the tyre guy, but you're travelling and working hard. Then you get a guy like Kerry Madsen who's been doing it, just like Brooke Tatnell. Similar, like, era driving that had a lot of success in the sport already. How quick does it take to start connecting and gelling as a team with a new driver?
Well, that year, the first year that we got Kerry, I actually wasn't. I actually pulled the pin that year,
Oh,
and wasn't
okay.
with them. Um, it just because the Australian season, and especially back then, World Series was only 2 to 3 months of the year. That's
Yeah.
really all I was employed for. So I
Yeah.
was actually still doing carpentry during the winter,
Fill in the gaps.
um,
Yeah.
and then coming back to part time for the team. So then they got Madsen for that year, and at the time, um, I decided to actually start my own carpentry business.
Yep.
And because I was getting older, and I wanted to eventually buy a house,
Yep.
and just doing the carpentry on wages, and then quitting that, and then being a tire guy for 3 months just wasn't cutting it money wise.
Yeah.
If I wanted to actually buy a house one day or something like that, and
Yeah.
so that's when it was a pretty hard decision to make too.
I was going to
'Cause
say, you've committed a lot at that point, mate. Like,
mm,
and
yeah,
then you go, well, I gotta go back to work. It's been a
yeah,
good 5-6 years. Like, that
yeah,
must have been hard on you, mate, mentally.
definitely hard. Yeah, I can't really remember much about it, to be honest, but yeah, I know it definitely was a tough decision, and one that I thought was going to be, for the better of my future
Yeah.
growing up, you know what I mean? Because I
Hmm.
didn't want to be, 35 years old, still living at mum and dad's house. I wanted to do stuff on my own, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
and that was, to be honest, I needed to make more money to do that. So
Yeah,
starting
for
my own
sure.
carpentry business was going to be the way to do it. So,
Yep.
so yeah, spent that year just doing carpentry, and went back racing with Dane a little bit. And then it was February, that end of that first year. Actually the guy they got to replace me, they actually got rid of him, left him over in Brisbane, and needed someone to help him finish the year off here in WA. So I actually finished that year with them.
So you let's say time period for you, the December leading up to World Series, like, was it Boxing Day? It used to be, start whatever.
Yeah,
You
so
go,
that's when the
nah,
start was.
guys, I'm out this season coming up, whatever. You then start to go to work or whatever. Don't travel much with sprint cars, or just fiddle with Dane stuff. And then by February, when they're back around the Perth area, you jump back on. And
Yep.
was that another break in between that, or you were like, no, you were back?
No, that was just like weekend stuff pretty
Yeah,
much. Like
just
I was
filling
still,
in. Yep, okay.
yeah, I was still doing, I was still doing 3 or 4 days of carpentry that week, and then coming to the shop doing the tires, and going
Yeah.
to the races on the weekend pretty much. So yeah, finished that year with them, and I'm like, yeah, okay, cool guys, see you later.
Yeah.
Got back to carpentry again.
Yeah.
And then that was February, March. 2019, I think it was.
It was
And
pushing
then,
towards COVID here. I can feel it.
yeah,
Getting
so
to
then that
there.
year, actually just booked a spontaneous trip to America that year in August for 3 weeks.
Knoxville
Um,
Nationals, probably.
Knoxville
Yeah.
Nationals, yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, and to be pretty funny story, I actually lined up. I actually got invited to a wedding. One of my friends over there was getting
Yeah.
married, and it just happened to be the week after Nationals.
Oh,
So,
sweet.
perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, went for a quick trip, and it was actually pretty funny because Ryan went that year as well. So I actually just like rocked up to Knoxville with a backpack. That's all I had to Knoxville. No place to sleep or nothing booked or whatever. And it was Ryan. Dylan was over there working for Kerry with the big game team.
Yep.
And then I rocked up as well, and it was it was pretty funny. I slept on Dylan's couch the whole weekend because I had nowhere to stay. But but yeah, kind of. I think it was about that time, August. Ryan's kind of in my ear. He's like, I don't think Dylan's coming home. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, just have that feeling he's not coming home. Like,
so no communication yet, but Dylan might have been lining up some big opportunities and other stuff with American teams.
Yeah, well, at that time I think he had a girlfriend there. He got. I think he was probably even married by that point. I think, married an American girl. I think that was hey, what's going on here, pretty much.
Yeah.
And then either it was before I left Knoxville or it might have been just as I got home, Dylan messaged me and he asked if I could build the cars for the upcoming season.
Okay, yeah. Which is a big job. That's a
lot.
lot.
Because at this point, I'm really just a tyre guy. Like, I've never, even when I was going to America, I was stepping into teams that had already built their stuff, like, and are already prepared. Like, the only time you built a car is if you wrecked one, and that never really happened too often, so.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, have you spoken to Ryan about it? Like, Ryan might not want me to build the cars, and
yeah, bloody hope.
Yeah, he's like, oh no, not yet, but he'll be fine. He'll be fine. I was like, well, you talk to Ryan about it, and then get back to me, and then that's when Ryan. I was at home by this stage, and Ryan got in contact with him, and he's like, Dylan's been in contact with you about building the cars for this year. What do you reckon? I'm like, man, I'd love to.
But that's, like you said, that's all in. That's not like carpentry and go and build race cars, because you got to be 100%.
Well, it was going to be like take 2 months off to build these cars and get the team ready for World Series, and then go back to carpentry because that's just what I was doing.
Yeah,
which was going to be. I was like, oh, but then I think it was at the time I was actually pretty quiet. Like, I never had a lot of work on. It was just a bit of a quiet patch. So I was like, And to be honest, I couldn't turn that down. It was something that.
Well, that was still your I guess your reach out to be like, oi, the dream of working on race cars full time still is there. So I was dangling in front of you type deal, yeah.
Well, at that point, I didn't even have the full-time thing in my head still. Like,
yeah, okay.
Even being in America and working on teams before, like, it was to get the opportunity to build race cars for Krikke Motorsport. Like, that's pretty cool. Like, that's and to me, that's just as cool as going to America working on race cars. You know what I mean? So, but at the same time, like, absolutely shitting myself because I'd never built a sprint car before, and every time we built a midget, Dane was with me, like, and never built it yourself. You're always bouncing ideas off each other, and if you never know how to do something, Dane would know how to do it, or So I just went into this pretty much blind, I reckon. Like, just no idea. Just wing.
Oh, you can't say blind, but
no, like, you know what I mean. Like,
I get you.
I'd never fitted a panel kit before, and I had there was panel kits, and I knew how to do the basics, like square rear ends up, and square front ends up, and stuff like that. But then when you're doing it for Krikke Motorsport, you're like, well, shit, do they do it a certain way? Because there's people set rear ends up different. People have their front ends in different spots. Like, there was all this different type of stuff.
Yeah.
But then also when I got to the shop, there was nothing there. Like,
so you're ordering stuff? Like,
So Dylan ordered it all.
Okay, yeah.
So it was like ordered,
Yeah,
but not
right.
there.
Just
Yeah.
not there yet. It's like, oh yeah, it's in the freight, bro. It's covered. It's all
Yeah.
good. Whoa.
So,
And when you
yeah.
said like people do it different, when you start a car from, chassis up, sort of has your touch to it, doesn't it? Like
Yeah.
you know, okay, like this sits this way for this reason, and this line or fuel line or cable goes this way for this electrical for this reason, and your touches are on it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think the hardest part was, I think this everyone does this, but you order all the parts that you think you need for a season, and then you start building stuff, and you're like, oh damn, I forgot this. Oh, I forgot that. Oh, like, and
Yeah.
I still do it now. Like, so
Yeah.
everyone does it.
Yeah.
And so I'd go to put a brake on a rear end, and I'm like, man, there's no brakes here. So I like call Dylan. He's like, did you order brakes? No, there's some at the shop, and I'm like, there's nothing here, like nothing. He's like, yeah, there's like brakes at the shop. I didn't order brakes because there's some there. I'm like, I'm telling you, there's no brakes here. Like, so, so then it was on me to go get the brakes and just stuff like that, which is normal. That's just,
of course.
I still do it now.
Yeah.
So that was probably the hardest part for me. And I know I think the fuel lines were the other thing. There was like no fuel lines there, and there was no fuel lines ordered. And and that's like, to me, the way I run the fuel lines in the car is like my touch, you know what I mean? Like,
that's what I mean. Like,
yeah.
So if something leaks or stuffs up, your paths.
Yeah.
Like through the car quicker, where it's not like you jump on it and go, oh, why is it not where I should have it, or something like that. So
yeah, and you just you do it because there's like so many lines going everywhere. You do it as neat as possible, right? So you look into some people's cars and you're like, whoa, they didn't take much time to do that, like. So yeah, I wanted to do it.
It started.
Right. Yeah. I wanted to do it right, but I really had no idea what was right. So that was just some of the stuff that I, when I say I winged it, that's what I, just did stuff without really knowing.
Learning on the job.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that's your whole sort of story, mate, which is, it is speedway in a way. No one knows. You don't just wake up, or they don't teach you at school. You can go to trade school and learn functions or mechanics of a race car. A road car or a truck, but it ain't a 410 sprint car. Like, that's its own thing. Like, it's completely... Well, I think they're whacked out of their mind how they work. But they're so cool at the same time. So...
Yeah.
And when you know it, it is such a key thing in our sport. Like, if you know the ins and outs of a sprint car, you're like... there. Like, you know what I mean? And you had to learn that yourself. So, we've got 2019, you're building cars, you're in and you're out. Is that, like, COVID's like... So, did they do that World Series year, 1920, or no?
Yeah, so we did that World Series that year.
And you were you joined then? Like, you sort of...
Well, I never had a choice.
That's what I mean. It sounded like Dylan didn't come back, and you're like, oh, so you built the cars, you're coming now, yeah?
Yeah, so, honestly, we got to December, and at the time, their first race was the state title here in Perth. Yep. Start of December, it was kind of like our hit-out kind of session before we went on the road.
Yeah.
And, so we got to December, and... yeah, it was pretty evident that Dylan wasn't coming home.
Yeah.
And, I kind of said to Ryan, I was like, what do you want to do about a crew chief? Yeah. And he just pretty much said, you'll be all right. I'm like, oh,
yeah. Oh, that's wild. You're like, okay. Oh, that's crazy.
Like, I felt like I was in the deep end for sure. Like, out of my league.
And, okay, so... you jump in that. Do you remember how you went that season, you on the road, or was it a fifth? Did you get a bit of help as a crew chief? I know you were just making it. I mean, Kerry Madsen knows his way around a 410 sprint car, so I'm sure he was probably a really good person to have as a driver as being a new crew chief. Correct?
100%. Yeah. If it wasn't for Kerry, I would have been stuffed, I reckon. Like, he's just like a book of knowledge. Like, he knows so much stuff. Knows exactly what he wants to feel in a car, and pretty much to an extent knows how to make him feel like that. You know what I mean? So, but still, especially looking back at it now, I feel like if he had a crew chief that just had a bit more knowledge, we probably would have done a lot better that year, to be honest, because I know that we ran, for me, in my first season as crew chief, I felt like we ran pretty well, but I felt like I let the team down a little bit with not having that knowledge, because we started on the front row, like, I can't remember if it was like 7 times, or I reckon we started on the front row 7 times and only won 2 races that year. Like, we would get to lap traffic, like we would qualify so good, heat race good, start on the pole, and we would get to traffic and just not be, just be too tight in dirty air. Like, just he couldn't turn the thing, and I feel like looking back at it now, if I just, if I could say to him, man, we're too tight when you get to traffic, we need to loosen this thing up, and cut through the cars easier. Like, it's not qualifying now. Like, I think we would have won a lot more races.
Yeah. And, okay, you touched on a cool thing now, like you visually seeing it and knowing. Was there a moment where you backed yourself and made comments like that? Like, I think you're this. Or, like, when did you know? You know what I mean? Like, how do you just... He's a guy, Kerry Madsen, like, he'd done everything in the sport at that point. And you're just going, we're just not winning. But you know he's getting into traffic, but you just don't have that. Like, when did something click? And you go, I think... Like, it might not have been that season. It might have been a few years where you went, we're making a call now.
I think it was that season. I can't remember if it was that. It was that season, yeah, because it was the only full season I did with Kerry. So, went to the Australian title in Tasmania, I reckon it was, and it was like raining and it was wet. And, we were like struggling to get the race in, but yeah, I think it was on the second night, and Kerry always loved to have a super tight car. Loved to run 94 size left rears. I would hate running 92s. And, just the kind of guy he is. And, that Australian title, it was so wet and rough. And the first heat went out. And I don't know who it was, but, just went into turn 1 and biked up and just about flipped over. And there's a couple of guys doing it. And I said to Kerry, like, this track's super fast. We need to take this, 94 left rear off and put a 92 on. And he's like, nah, I'll be right. And I'm like, well, I'm telling you, these guys out there can't even turn. They're biking up. Like, it's that hooked up. He's like, nah, I got it. And so we go out, turn 1, bikes the thing up. Like, I'm like, and I was like, kind of, I was mad at myself, because I'm like, I should have just put it on, you know what I mean? Like, but how can me, first year crew chief, go against Kerry Madsen, you know what I mean? Like, he's got a lot more experience than I do. So it was that night we got to the feature race, and I'm like, 92, and he's like, nah, 94. I'm like, I'm not putting a 94 on the car. I'm like, if you want to put it on, you can put it on. I ain't putting it on. I'm like, you're running a 92. And so he just got in the car, so I left the 92 on, and we just about won the thing. Like, was passing Veal for the lead, and the red light came on. And I think in the end we ran third, I think, like that. But he could move around. It was still pretty rough, so you could put the car wherever he wanted, where other people couldn't. And that was the first time I actually went against his, what he wanted to do, because I could see that, that you just can't be that tight all the time.
And that's I guess one of those key moments where you then, like, I'm going to back myself now, eh? Like, I'm responsible for the results plus the driver. It's 50-50 here. He can say no, but if he goes out, like you said, bikes the shit out of it. If he junked it, you get angry at you because you're like, I didn't put it on. Then he goes, oh yeah, I was wrong too. So no one made the decision type deal. You know what I mean? So, all right. So that's I was going to say, like, the moment you go like, nah, like, I'm backing myself here. And, that's so confident going into that. Now, then you're full of confidence, and then this whole world turns to shit. It's COVID, surely. Like, that next season, you've just become full-time crew chief. You're like, okay, I think I'm the crew chief of this sprint car now. This might be a full-time gig. Then what was that period like, bro? That is uncertainty.
It was weird. It was actually quite funny at the start there. We just finished the Krikke boys race.
Yep.
because that was always our last race of the year. And I remember sitting at the pub with Kerry and Ryan, and we were having a beer before Kerry was meant to get on the plane. And we're watching the TV was like all news at that point of the COVID going around in
big
China
time.
and stuff like that. And Kerry's like, the world's going to shut down. He's like, I might not even get home. We're like, what are you talking about? You know, like, you know, he's full of all this kind of like, you know, he loves that stuff, you know, like loves all that.
The news.
You know, what's going to happen, the news and what's going to happen, and, you know, conspiracy theories and stuff like that. He loves that kind of stuff. So when he said that, we was like, no, you don't worry about it. And I reckon, like, no sooner he got back to America, everything was shut. It's just, he nearly didn't get home. Yeah.
Man, so, it was like that though, eh? It was literally like, especially you guys. You guys shut yourself off to the rest of Australia, like, forever. And then you opened up going, you guys have fun. We're just going to be Western Australia and maybe change it to our own country and probably even currency at one point. It was looking like. So then, like, that is like, so then there's no racing. World Series, kapoof, gone. Like, what was the Perth series and scene like just before COVID and coming out of it? Like, to me, I don't ever remember it being like talked about as much as obviously it is now.
Yeah, like, I don't know, I guess all through kind of like the winter, you just kind of thought that everything was going to be fine come speedway season and everything was going to open up and be fine. But yeah, I guess it like got to that point where like, shit, we ain't going anywhere. Like, you know, and I said to Ryan, I was like, oh, do you want me to go back doing carpentry for a bit and, you know, see what happens, I guess, with COVID and if we can get Kerry back? And and he kind of said, oh, you know, don't really want to shut the doors of the team. Like, you know, I think he said, you know, we could shut the doors and might not ever roll them back up. You know what I mean? So he's like, I'd like to keep going if we can, and you know, we'll just race locally for a bit and see what happens. And that's when he said to me, he's like, oh, do you think Dane would want to drive the car? And I'm like, what do you mean? Do you think Dane would want to drive the car? Like, of course he's going to want to drive the car. Like, you know? But he's like, ask him, like, do you reckon he would? I'm like, no, I'm 110% know that he would. So yeah, that was pretty funny. But so yeah, he messaged Dane one day to come around the workshop at lunchtime and pretty much asked Dane to drive the car for that year.
Mate, I mean, you probably would have been like, man, I get to go racing with my mate again, and in a sprint car, like, and we don't have to travel anywhere.
It was definitely a pretty cool time. Like, I mean, as much as we wanted, you know, to obviously keep doing what we'd always done and do World Series, but you know, if World Series isn't going to happen, then this is the next best thing, right? So, and yeah, like at the time, you kind of just knew that, well, you kind of thought that COVID would be ending soon. You know, it's not long now and it'll end. But, you know, we'll put Dane in the car and see what happens. And it's unreal to kind of think, you know, where we are now, you know, that just that 1 year of you know, COVID and having Dane in the car turned into this is pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. And what was it like being a part of a team and being in that Perth scene where now you have grown this Maddington Toyota and the Plex, like, from here to here, it feels like overnight. Like, it just was like you guys shut Australia out, but then you're like, you know what, we're just going to be badass and grow. Like, was it a thing where you could see it happening, or it just sort of happened and you look around and go, man, this is huge now?
Yeah, kind of, I don't know, you kind of didn't really see it happening, except every year did get bigger and better, I guess. But, like, from a racing point of view, with Dane and racing back in Perth full time, you didn't feel like a big team. Like, it was just you didn't.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You didn't feel like a World Series team, or you didn't, or you were just. We were just so concentrating on you know, getting Dane some good laps and trying to get the car good for him to be able to turn the thing and just see where we end up. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Just
for
pretty much be
sure.
the best we can.
Yeah.
You know, we kind of knew that we weren't going to win a race that year, but we knew that, you know, we were aiming to be very competitive every race and
Yeah.
get some top fives and stuff. And shit, he just about won his first race that year, and I think we got a couple of podiums. So I think I'm pretty sure we ran second in the championship that year. So it was after that. Well, after that first year with him, we're like, oh, it's, you know, he can drive a car and we can be competitive here.
Yeah, and then you go into the relationship still with Madsen, because I'm sure maybe you were thinking World Series was gonna come back, eh? Was that the talks? Like, you were like, surely.
Well, I think so. Like, I guess like what I was saying before about, you know, if Ryan had to shut the doors of the team for a year, they might not have rolled back up and kept going, and that's just exactly what happened to World Series. They, you know, had to shut the doors for a year, and it just
Yeah.
never got back off the ground. You know what I mean? So, I actually can't even remember what the talk was of World Series then. I think even in the second year of Dane, you know, it was still pretty hard to travel. I think.
Yeah.
Can't really remember, but yeah, just kind of went into that second year just aiming to be that little bit better than the first year. And I know that first year, some of our bad nights were like 13th, 14th, 15th or something like that.
Yeah.
But then the second year, our aim was like a bad night needs to be a 10th, you know, it can't be
Yeah.
any worse than a 10th or something like that. So it was just a gradual progression of, you know, trying to not have bad nights that were 15th, and then, you know, your good nights are top fives.
Yeah.
You know,
For sure. And now, what was that like being a crew chief, working with your mate, but now you got to do two cars? Or was there someone else involved, or were you the guy for both?
I was the guy for both, but for one race it might have been. But yeah, it's just, and that wasn't, you know, I 100% when the two car deal come up, I was very keen to do the two cars,
Yeah.
but I said that I was like, yeah, we'll do two cars, but need to find another crew chief for the second car because there's just no way that I can do both.
Yeah. And try be competitive for both guys.
Yeah, it's impossible to do it
Mm.
properly, especially when you got drivers like um, Kerry, who like, you know, Kerry wants to be talking to you the whole time. Like he wants your attention. You know, he wants you with him looking at the track,
Yeah.
and he's because he feeds off you as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you know, he's like feeding you ideas, and then you feed him ideas, and you just continually like
Yeah.
back and forth with each other about stuff.
Hmm.
Where Dane's not so much like that, as much as Kerry is. So, but then when you're not doing so well, then you are. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that first
Yeah. I get
night
you.
that, you know, I was trying to do both cars at the same time, and Kerry's doing okay, but he still wants my attention and back and forth. And then Dane wasn't doing so good and wanting my attention as well. And I'm like, man, I
Yeah.
can't do two drivers. Like
Yeah.
it's impossible. So yeah, we got another guy to come in and help Dane after that. But I mean, that's how it was meant to be at the start, but we just couldn't
Yeah.
find, I guess, the right person. The people that we had in mind to come and help had other things on,
Yeah.
and we just couldn't find that person. So I think, you know, we went into that trialing it, I guess, but I kind of knew that it was never going to work.
Yeah. The
One crew
two
chief.
car team. Yeah. And the double maintenance for you during the week, like you can, I don't know if you felt pressure that you thought you were going to miss stuff, and like their cars are different in a way.
Yeah, so we were pretty lucky with the cars. Both cars were pretty much exactly the same,
Okay.
but then obviously being different drivers, you set them up different.
Yeah.
Kerry obviously at that time, Kerry was like his cars a lot tighter than what Dane could have his cars. So
Yeah.
yeah, they were set up different. But yeah, as you said, like you just you almost to run two cars properly, you need two separate teams really. Like you need
Yeah.
a crew chief for each car. You need, you know, a car guy for each car doing
Yeah.
bolt checks and that because yeah, I don't think you can have one guy doing a bolt check on this car and then he comes over to this car and does a bolt check. I just don't think that, that's when
Yeah.
stuff gets missed.
Yeah, that exact because
So,
your brain fades, you're working quick. You're like, I know I tightened the right front, but you might have been done it on one right front, not two, because your
yeah.
brain's
So,
like going crazy.
yeah.
Mm.
So
And
in the end, we actually did work it out that we had kind of like two separate teams,
yep, yep,
but which, but yeah, still, it was pretty hard work. Yeah.
I bet. And then so the transition, there was still a bit of a period, wasn't there, where you would bring Kerry east, and Dane would be the perf guy. Um, was that a thing where you were like, obviously Kerry's got more experience and won Australian titles and won classics, like, Danes might not be ready for that yet. But when did that come head of steam? Because I was saying, like, after I seen the last time Kerry went, I went, damn, it would have been cool to see Dane come. Like, because I was feeling like he was a cricket guy. You see him in the car. Like, what was that? Did you guys know that Kerry, that was the last time, that time?
Probably had a feeling, I guess. It was never really probably talked about, but because I think we didn't win the championship that year before we took Dane, I don't think. So yeah, I think we got Kerry back, but um, yeah, I don't know. It was pretty hard because yeah, just Dane was going really well, but it's
Mm-hmm.
very different to go very well here compared to
Yeah.
over in Warrnambool. Uh, it's just night and day different, to be honest. I mean,
100%. Yeah.
so I don't know. I feel like it was not my decision when to take Dane. That was all on Ryan.
Yeah.
And I felt like that. Looking back at it now, I definitely felt like he made the right decision in just delaying that. And probably another
Mm.
couple of years. That I
Yeah.
probably would have taken him the year before if it was my decision.
Yeah.
But just I feel like just delaying it that one more year definitely helped Dane this year when we
Yeah.
went over, I think. So I think, yeah, looking back on it now, it was definitely a good decision just to delay it a little bit more, as much as people were, you know,
Yeah,
take
like
him,
me
which,
as it was me
yeah,
as a fan wanting it, bro. I don't, the results,
yeah,
and you guys have reasons, and I think you have sort of done it like, a good NFL team. Get a backup quarterback, don't let him play straight away, and build him up, and then
yeah,
2 years he comes, he's ready to go.
yeah,
So you go and win that championship though that year. Now then you go, all right, we're coming east now. Man, you guys
yeah,
had a tough time at Warrnambool, didn't you? What? Just a bit of unlucky, a bit of wrecking. I think the car, like he's looked fast. He's had the speed.
yeah.
And Dane is a wall banger. He loves running the fence, so Warrnambool is good like that. But how was that testing as a team? Being like, I'm sure Dane was relying on you for a lot of feedback. Hey, like, how's the track? What's it feel like? He's probably raced speed cars on it before, hadn't he?
Yeah, we raced the midget there at Warrnambool. But yeah, again, just totally different.
Yeah.
Can't take anything from the midget to the sprint car at all. So, um, but yeah, definitely a tough time. But we started really good. We qualified really well.
Yeah. Mm.
You know, for his first time, at the classic, and you got to bounce the thing off the wall to qualify, kind of thing. And
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
yeah, I think he did really well. And then that heat race thing, that was just is what it is. It wasn't his fault. It was just racing. And the thing with the classic is once something like that happens to you, you're pretty much done. Like there's really,
Such a hard
you know,
format.
yeah. So then I think like after that, like he wanted to make amends for that. And I think in one of the other heats he knocked the ladder out of it. Just just trying something. You know what I mean? He
Yeah.
had to make something happen to move forward, and I guess maybe put a bit too much pressure on himself to do that and hit the wall again. But that's all about learning, isn't it? Like
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
you
Hmm.
know, and just I guess I kind of seeing that that this year it was like it definitely probably would have been a bit early to take him the years before. Like it's as I said, it's totally different to racing here in WA.
Yeah, but I mean, you had your Ripper run Australian title. I thought that was unreal, and he was amazing to watch. I'm like, man, he is sending it, and he's having a red hot crack. And now I did speak to him when we had him on the pod. He was like, hey, look, I was going for the win, but man, it still would have been cool to run third. You know, and so he like had that in his head. But when you're out there going for the win, and I thought he had a car at one point, I'm like, hang on, this thing's tracking. Like, you as a crew chief, when you can see your car start to come on like that, is that like, oh, I think we're on here? Or do you know, like, does the car peak too early in a race? You know it's not going to be there at the end.
No, I kind of knew that. I don't know. It was weird watching that race because I didn't really expect us to be that far up. You know what I mean? Like I think we started 10th,
Yeah.
and I'm like, man, if we can finish top 10, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then he got to 5th, and I'm thinking, oh man, top 5 would just be like unreal. Like, you know, first time here in a sprint car, like or
Yeah.
Dane, you know, like. But then when he just like kept going, I'm like, oh, but I kind of knew that we didn't have enough for James. Like James is in his own little world there, and he was, you weren't going to run him down, I don't think. And I could just kind of tell how hard Dane was pushing to be that fast.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
You know what I mean? You know, pretty much like he said on when you spoke to him, it just wasn't sustainable to push, to bang the wall every lap after lap. But you know, that was just one of them things at the time. I'm like, hey, what do you do? Like we're not racing for points for once.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
But then, you know, you get home and you're like, oh, you know, top 3 would have been good. But
yeah, imagine if we were on top 5, bro. That would be sick. Anyway.
Yeah.
But you know, is that a chip you guys? Do you guys ever talk about it or no? Like, you know, people labeling you as West guys and stuff like that. Like me, I was cheering him, going, "Oh, keep going, bro." Like especially like I think Cow got like a top 5 and a podium at like Borderline and Avalon, and I was like, not bad. Like you've beaten some good guys, and then he started good at the classic, and then you guys were fast early in the classic. I'm like, yes, let's go. Like I want these guys to go well to, you know, stick it to the social media. People go, oh, they're just West guys, because these guys aren't. Like they're very talented, and you guys are talented as a team. Is that a thing you do? Like, want to sort of shrug or tell them to, or it doesn't faze you guys?
Well, it is a thing, isn't it? Like
it is, bro.
Don't go so well over there, and it's because we don't try. That's 100% it. And you know, the reason that Dane and Callum, you know, I mean, I think, you know, hopefully next year we go over and Dane will be better again. But you know, Callum's done a bit of travelling now. Like he's raced in Darwin. He raced in Parramatta for a couple of years. He's you know, been to Warrnambool a few times now and all them places. So like he's travelling and he's doing the hard work to be better, and that's how you get better, is racing different. So that's and that is why WA guys aren't as good, because they just race in WA all year, and then they're like, oh, we're going to go to the Classic, and then they go to the Classic and get pumped. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, it's a thing, and if people say that to us, I'm like, well, yeah, it's true, whatever, but. You know,
but you want to stick it to them. Like you want to go, what now?
Yeah. Well, we just want to be good and win races. You know what I mean? Wherever we go, so it's not, you know, we're not doing it to stick it up them. Like we're just doing it, you know, because we want to do it. But yeah, I think it is pretty cool to see guys like Dane and Callum, you know, actually doing well over there, because it's been a long time since WA guys have done that well. You know. Yeah.
Well, you guys. You know, Krikke was always a WA team, but you had the likes of a Brooke Tatnall, who's raced East Coast his whole 90s through to, he linked up with you guys. So, like, it's not like those tracks to him were like second nature. So, it's a W2 or A1, but it's not a WA team. It's WA team, but a guy who's run a million laps. So, like you said, Callum's done it. And I feel like, you know, is there plans for you guys this year to do a little bit of travelling or just focus on that, the Maddington series? Because it is... You know, you're going for 3 in a row. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely a hard decision. Like, you know, because you do want to go travel, but you know things are so good with the Maddington Toyota series.
Exactly.
You know, just the money's so good, and you know you don't have the travel costs like the diesel bills and the hotel bills, because if you like if you did that now, like 2 months on the road, wouldn't like to see the bill for the diesel and the hotels. That's for sure. It'd be a bit different than 6 years ago. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
But no, like we're definitely going to do the Maddington Toyota Series again and go for 3 in a row. That's just pretty much a no-brainer. But we're definitely going to try and travel, when we can. So we're going to go do Darwin this year, which is pretty cool.
Is that a release? You guys haven't even released that yet, have you?
I don't think we have. We haven't. No, we haven't.
Am I supposed to like?
I mean, I don't know. I might get in trouble for that.
Yeah, well, you got to let me know because this one's not live, brother. So you got to make that as an announcement, or I got to cut this or delay the release of this episode. So
no, we're not really into the big releases of going places. We're not. We'd be a bit different if we had like Kerry in the car or something like that. But like we're just going up there to be quietly do our thing. So
you can't be, bro. I'm sorry. Like
as
much as I film and I know all you guys, I'm still a race fan. Like you guys going there is sick. Like it's like Krikke Motorsports. You guys are the current biggest series winning champion in the country. So to me, like you are like the World Series champ right now. I know people would hate me saying that, but like you're the biggest. They would, but I'm saying like you're the biggest series champion in Australia right now. So you are up there with like, oh, that's cool. They're here. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so you can't say to you guys it's head down but up. Oh, we're just traveling from Perth but no, it's cool, man. So. I'll be asking Ryan to make sure that we can post this because I'm telling you, it is good. I will be asking him. By the way, I want to talk. All right, I love merch. You guys have to have a shirt now that's back to back. Use the number 2, please. Come on.
I'm guessing there'll be something along the lines of that come out. I reckon. So,
let's go. I mean, I thought it was cool. As soon as you won, I'm like, oh, surely back to back number 2. That's just what it is. And with the all right, I know. Is the car changing much? Can you give us a little bit of a tickle on that? Are you sticking similar, or what are you doing?
Yeah, it's changing a little bit, but it's still going to be based off the red and black. So.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I did like this year when you rocked the black wing a little bit. That was cool.
Yeah, so that was actually Kerry's wing from a couple of years ago when we ran the 2 cars.
Yeah, I thought it was similar to that.
Because when we ran the 2 cars, I wanted to make them a little bit different so, people could tell them apart a little bit. Yeah. So I made all Kerry's wings black, which so Dane had the red wings and Kerry had the black wings, which actually really cool. So yeah, that was actually I think we started the year with that black wing, I think. So
that was cool.
Yeah. But no, we're gonna stick with the red and the black. It's kind of bit of an iconic color for us at the moment. So yeah, and we won the best presenter car for the Maddington Toyota Series again. So we're not going to change it too much.
Yeah, it's awesome. It is. 2 things to finish up before we go. It's been an awesome chat, man. I really appreciate it. The Krikke Boys shootout. What is it like working on the Krikke Motorsports car for that weekend?
Yeah, it's kind of adds a little bit of pressure, to be honest. Especially I felt like when it was at Bunbury, especially like, it'd always been at Bunbury, and I'm pretty sure we won it with Veal that year. I'm not 100% sure. I have a feeling we did, and I think got a few photos at home of us up on the wing. So, and then we nearly won it with Kerry the following year, I reckon it was, and we were actually leading it quite easy, and a lap car spun in front of us and had nowhere to go, and I know that one hurt, losing that one, because it's just, you just want to win it so bad for the family. So it feels a little bit different when you go to Perth now. Like it's obviously probably doesn't quite, feel as big as when it was at Bunbury, but it's still definitely a race that really want to win for the family. That's for sure.
Do you think it'll ever go back to Bunbury?
I think it will eventually. Like,
I want to be there for that. Yeah. Because I always wanted to go to the Krikke Boys, and I wanted that to be my first time at Bunbury. Because I want, I loved Bunbury when I went. I know the first night It wasn't the best with the track work and that, but it is like it's such a cool vibe at Bunbury. It's nothing like what we have here on the east as well. So it's like you got the Plex, that's this big, beautiful, awesome thing, big bank, but then Bunbury's is just another beast that's so big too. So and to see you guys work and race and for me it's like back home, the pits isn't fancy. So it's happy days. Like the Flex. But yeah, I think it would be cool to see you go back there, but it is hard to knock back the Plex.
Yeah, like the Motorplex is pretty hard to, it's pretty much one of the best facilities I've seen, and I've been to a lot of tracks in America and stuff.
Yeah.
And the Motorplex is easily top three, easily. Like, there's not many tracks around with the pit areas, hot mix and green grass. So,
bloody hope.
Yeah, I like it. I like it because you don't have to wash your truck and trailer every week.
Yeah, bit of crew chief relax time, not always.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But yeah, as soon as you roll into Bunbury, she's a complete wash. So,
Yes.
but no, I think obviously Bunbury are having a few problems at the moment, but I think once that gets back up and running, a little bit better and how it should be, then I think it might find its way back there one day.
Yeah, it would be cool. Even if it's not every year. It's, you know what I mean? I just think it could be really cool. All right, then last thing to finish off, mate, the huge period now, the tyre limit. What were your expectations going into that? And, being a part of it and now getting ready for it again?
Oh, yeah, I don't. Yeah, we did really well.
Bloody oath you
It's just really hard when last year they made it part of the Maddington Toyota series, like a points race for us.
I agree. Big time.
And it shouldn't be a points race. Like, it should be a standalone high limits race without points attached to it. Like, it's 100 grand, 110 grand to win this year. Like, it's not a points race. Like, you got guys, all the guys that come and race from America and from over east, they're just racing to win.
And they don't care about your point series.
No. And then we got to go there and we got to make sure we finish. Because if you don't finish, you are down in the points. And the way it happened this year, I'm pretty sure over the 3 nights there was only 3 drivers that made every race, every A main.
What do you mean
in
3
the series?
drivers? Really?
I think I'm pretty sure it was Dane, Callum, and Milling or Manders made all 3 A mains over the 3 nights. But apart from that, there was always one driver tonight or never made the show. And
I didn't think of that being there. I thought about
that's why the points gap between I think Milling and Manders were close, but from Manders back, so from like 4th on back, it was just not even close.
Yeah, Priolo was 5th. Yeah, he had a hard weekend, bro. We've got in so many wrecks, poor bastard.
Yeah, so it just made the points really, like after high limit, the points were done except for like the guys that made every race. Because once you don't make a race, you lose so many points. So that's the biggest thing I don't want to see next year is it being a points race for us. Like, I think we should be able to go there and race as hard as anyone else that's there racing.
Yeah, I mean, when I was there, everyone was talking about high limit, but, Benny and I always said, like, mate, we got 3 things going on right now. Speed Week, Maddington, high limit. But do you think Kyle Larson cares about the number 2 Krikke Motorsports running in 3rd or 2nd? He's trying to win 110. I'm not saying he's going to slam you personally, but he's going to squeeze the shit out of you. Yeah. Because he don't care. Or Brad Sweet, Rico View. Wow. And then you just say 3 drivers. Now, that is...
I'm pretty sure. I mean, don't... Yeah.
I won't quote you on it, but I get it. Wow.
Yeah. There wasn't many drivers that made every race them 3 nights. There was always someone that missed out. Yeah. And then,
Well, you had guys like Kerry join it who were in WA but not doing the series, I don't think. Were they? He wasn't doing the series.
No.
Ryan Newton was there a lot, not doing the series. You had like Jock always there doing it. I don't think J-Mac did the series, but he's there all the time. So it literally got to the point where you're watching the 2 and the 3. Where are they through the field? Like it's a
Yeah.
race in itself, you know. And it was when you guys were racing each other so hard. I'm like, that's the series, like.
Yeah.
And then Brad Sweet's it.
But like, I feel like on a night like High Limits, no one cares about the series, or like anyone watching. No
it
one
doesn't
cares about
need.
the series.
So what you're saying, yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't need to be involved because
No,
even the
yeah.
people in America don't get it if they're tuning in. You know, they're just worried about the High Limit badge. So I don't.
Yeah.
I can see it from your side, 100%. Whereas a fan, you know, if you're a diehard, you're going to think about all that stuff. But yeah, it's just 110 grand to win, and we want everyone pushing to the limit to win it.
Yeah, on
You
the same
know?
page, I guess. Like on
Yeah.
same
And
intention. Yeah.
but also too, you think about this user running the Maddington Toyota series that night, different format. That's what you're talking
Yeah.
about. So like
Yep.
the wheel spin, insane. Like literally, I think
Yep.
I remember standing next to Dane and he had to shit because he's like, Williamson, 8th, pulls a 00. You know, like,
Yeah.
but the Maddington Toyota Series night, it's the opposite. He starts back at the dash.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
so that's a bit different. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So I can see it
No,
from
I
your
just-
side,
yeah.
100%.
I just think it's no good. If you don't make the race, you're pretty much done in points for the series. If you don't make the race,
Yeah.
pretty much. So, yeah, I just want to see go to High Limit and just be able to race for High Limit.
Yeah.
And points. So I think that'd be way better this year if we could do that because I think Dane said on your podcast that it was on the first night he was running 4th and he was like gaining on Brad Sweet for 3rd, and on the last lap, slids Sweet for 3rd place, but then put it in the wall crossing the finish line, and I think Larson got him when we finished 5th. But there was like no way at all there was points in his head then. He would just wanted to race.
Yeah. Well, he's racing for High Limit points then. Because
he just wanted to beat Brad Sweet.
Yeah, that too.
And I do too. But yeah, the bigger picture was if he hadn't finished that feature race, had to put it on the infield, we probably wouldn't have won the points for the year. You know what I mean? So it's a massive deal when it comes to the points about finishing your races, and I feel like we should be able to, that High Limit stuff being so big, we shouldn't be points. Yeah.
Well, that was where like that moment of Bunbury where Williamson had the DNS. And you guys were like 20th and he was up the front. Like that was a huge night in the overall scheme. And that's where I'm like, I think that's the series. Like, because unless you guys, I don't know for you maybe, but I'm like, that's huge. Like,
yeah. Well, I definitely wasn't saying that's the series because that happened to us the year before. We crashed out in the dash that year at Allenbrook and couldn't make the feature race.
Oh.
The car was that bent, so we never started. But I added the points up at the end of the year, and if we had started that feature race and ran last, we would have won the points that year too. So that's how close the points are. That 1, you have to start them, and 2, you have to finish them.
Is in the series just taking the green and doing a lap? What's the points difference to not taking the green?
So if you don't take the green, you get like 50 points.
Yep.
But if you take the green and then put it on the infield, you get points for finishing 24th, which I think is 100 points or 110 points.
Wow, 50 points.
Yeah,
50, 60 points.
50 or 60 points difference between starting and finishing, or not finishing,
Yeah, and I could imagine
just
racing for points and how do you have that in your head? You just want to beat the guy in front of you.
Well, so I feel like at the start of the series, you just racing. You're racing for wins. You need the points, right? So you're
put
racing
yourself
for
at
wins.
the front. You put yourself at the front. Points take care of themselves.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess it's not until you get back here after Warrnambool and stuff like that, and you start about February when it starts winding down a little bit, is when you kind of start looking and we're leading this and
winding down, bro. You got huge races then. Jeez.
Well, maybe after February, after the Barbagallo and the Krikke boys races, I think we got maybe 5 races left after that, I guess.
Yeah, sweet.
And,
yeah,
you kind of start looking at it then and going, righto, just finish your races pretty much. Like,
Yeah.
you still got to race, but just don't do anything silly, really. And
Yeah, bloody oath, 100%.
and that's easier said than done. When you're racing 23 other guys that want to win just as bad as you do, but also it's like pressure on me because I don't want anything falling off the car or breaking down, or I got a rear end in the car with 20 nights on it. Shit, should have put a new one in, but
Yeah.
you just then
You're max. You stretched and you just what ifs or coulda, woulda, shoulda. You just got to send it.
It messes with your head a little bit. I definitely agree. It messes with your head there.
Yeah.
All you're doing is thinking of the worst scenario. Shit, what if that? What? Yeah. So yeah. Pretty glad to win them and finish it.
Yeah, bloody oath. How many tracks and where do you think the Maddington Toyota Series could grow, bro? What do you like? Is there more tracks that you definitely think could be on the radar for the series?
I definitely think we could go to Albany, which is
I've heard about that.
4 hours south of here. Race there in the midget a little bit. Really cool track. And World Series used to go there back in the day as well, and had some pretty cool races there, World Series. So I think we could definitely go there.
Yeah, cool.
I think to be honest, I think we have to start going there to, add another track to the series, definitely. And, I think, and going back to the, WA guys not doing so well when they go east and racing different tracks is because we technically race 2 tracks here, all the time. And with Bunbury not doing so well now, it's pretty much Perth all the time. So I think if people can start, we go to places like Albany, which is like quite a small track compared to Perth as well, and you got to race it totally different to Perth. So it'll make the WA guys better.
Yeah, and mix the series up.
Yeah, because you might go down there and someone that's not quite as good at Perth might be that track in Albion might suit them. You know what I mean? Or so I think we definitely need to start adding a few more tracks. It's just hard in WA because most of the tracks here are built for sedans and they don't put on good sprint car racing.
Yeah. Flat? Is that why or just too small?
Flat and sandy. They got
type of clay.
Yeah, so they get kind of like one lane on the bottom kind of thing, not a lot of passing. So I think that's the main issue in WA, that why we don't travel too much to other tracks is because they're not really built for sprint car racing.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. Yeah, that's always the thing, You can say, well, keep going to more tracks, but you're like, well, the product isn't going to be worth going to a track like that. Or that can't handle the product, just destroys it, wears it away. Oh, my God, we got 2 hours track prep. It's like, So.
That's the other thing. I remember going to... We used to race some of them country tracks quite often in the speed car, and some of the tracks you go to, you're taking rubber in qualifying, and
but just like, what are we doing here? That type of feel. Just not quite built for sprint car racing. And as you said, the people that run the clubs don't really have much idea about sprint cars either. You know what I mean? They're all sedan people, and prepping a track for a sedan race is black and white to prepping a track for a 410 sprint car. So I don't think that'll change in the near future, but I definitely think we should be able to go to Albany pretty soon. That was when I was there last year. I asked a few people, where could you go? Like, where else can we go? And then Albany was brought up multiple times, and I was like, all right. So, and everyone was like, oh, I'd love it. Like, I think it was a few crew guys were like, I want to go and be crew chief there. I want to go race there. Like, because it's so different, and you're not just Plex or Bunbury. It's like to help the brain. So, yeah, mate, that was wicked. There was a lot of shit we just went through. Like, bro, that America trip, bro, that's crazy. The gamble you took and to where you are now, that's so cool. Thanks for sharing that. I mean, it is a lot of personal stuff. You put on the line and you sent it. You are a definition of full send, and I love it.
Yeah, pretty much. If you love doing something so much, you just pursue it, don't you? So, I still love it that much now that I just want to, wishing this next few weeks goes pretty quick so we can get the Darwin.
Yeah, Just be careful. I don't know yet. All right then. So to finish off, mate, anyone looking to do what you did or get into Speedway as a crew guy, not a racer, what's advice you can give someone?
Yeah, just I mean, I know it's pretty hard to just drop everything and just go do it, but yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's off by just scraping mud. Go help someone scrape mud, and then you just kind of move on to doing other things. Like you'll be scraping mud one day, and someone will they'll be changing a front end or something. So then you just kind of get in and start helping, or and then all of a sudden you're working on the car. So and it's just like step by step thing, and like everything, nothing happens overnight. Like
Yeah.
sometimes you're kind of working and you kind of seem like you're not going anywhere or not getting. You are like you just
Yeah.
it's just like a step by step thing, and yeah, if you feel like if you work hard enough and you do it, as much as you can, then you eventually get to the place that you want to be. So yeah, just do it as much as you can, and yeah, you have to do it for free to start with. Like it's never a paid gig at the start.
Bloody oath. And I'll tell you that with what I do.
Yeah,
What did I came up with a saying the other day. It's W three Fs. Work for fucking free.
yeah,
Like just show your worth, hard yards, knuckle down, and it will return of just being a good person too. Like you can't
yeah.
expect the world, and you're not owed anything. I believe no one, so. Thanks, man. I really appreciate it, and look forward to catching up with you over the season. And I'm going to try and get to Perth a bit more this year. It was
Yeah,
fun,
that'd be
and
cool.
I definitely got to come check out that workshop. That is sick. That is
Yeah,
mental.
yeah,
That is mental.
yeah. It's a pretty cool spot, and it's pretty cool to have the Shane Krikke car in here too. That's my kind of favorite piece in here
Yeah,
is that car. It just kind of fits in quite nicely, so it's definitely a cool area to hang out and have a few beers.
yeah, bloody oath. All right, mate. Well, thanks, and good luck going for three in a row, I guess.
No, cool. Thanks for having me on your podcast.